Later on this week, the lower end of Manhattan will be lit up by two beams of blue light heading skyward to stand for the World Trade Center towers. That being the case, September 11th being on the way, what would your reaction have been if we were coming on the air tonight to report the house guests at Camp David had been members of the Taliban leadership?
You know, it's one of the look. I've been in a lot of National Security Council meetings. I served 2 years in the Trump administration. This is one of the craziest ideas I've ever heard, to have the Taliban come to Camp David to culminate an agreement that wasn't really even concluded, because the Taliban and the Afghan government have never talked. And the Taliban is still committed to overthrowing the Afghan government when we leave. So it was a really half-baked, crazy idea. That apparently the president thought he could work his magic and get these two parties together. That was totally wishful thinking. And really, it's just outrageous to think about the Taliban, who harbors al-Qaeda, to be coming anywhere near Washington, let alone Camp David. It's a crazy story, and I'm glad it's not happening. And
Shannon, is it now by design that we learn about now canceled meetings via Twitter? What do we have in common with a huge percentage of the standing Washington government? Is this also the way they learned?
That's the way White House staffers learn about things over and over again. Interactions with Kim Jong-un, interactions with Iran. We're learning about them on Twitter. Some major, there's been instances I have been told about in the past where obviously the Pentagon was caught off guard. I believe it was the time when the president announced troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. A lot of people in the Pentagon were caught off guard by that. And of course, though, this speaks to this pattern of the president having a strategy of calling off meetings last minute or walking out of a room, walking out of negotiations with Kim Jong-un, walking out of talks with the Democrats on immigration. And here, again, a very public canceling of this meeting, which, of course, the president could have just done privately. This could have been just kept between the U.S. and Afghan negotiators and the Taliban. But he made this public display of it. And it's almost become a bargaining tactic or negotiating tactic that he seems to use, where he walks away from the table, which is something he did as a businessman, and thinks that's going to help get them back. So if people had initially predicted in the start of this administration that there would be governing by tweet, that has certainly come to fruition, not just on foreign policy, but announcing key cabinet members, the defense secretary being announced on Twitter, firings on Twitter. So, yes, that is the way not only we are all learning about it, but people in the administration and the White House are learning about it as well.
Hey, Robert Costa, who's on the inside to say, Mr. President, Taliban, Camp David, 9/11 week, not a good look for so many reasons?
Almost everyone on the inside has a more conventional approach to foreign policy and national security, and there are rising tensions inside of this White House and the broader administration about the president's conduct and decision-making. When you think about the national security apparatus at the CIA, at the State Department, the NSC, and even top officials in the cabinet, they're telling this president not to pursue some of these more unconventional ambitions, yet the president is pushing back against them. And they all are taking a more formal position, a more mainstream position when it comes to issues like Russia. I was just on the road with Vice President Pence for a week in Europe, and he was articulating a hawkish position on Russia just days after President Trump was thinking about inviting Vladimir Putin to the next G7 meeting. And when it comes to Afghanistan, he's surrounded by Secretary of State Pompeo, National Security Advisor John Bolton, far more hawkish in their approach, yet the president continues to move forward on his own. Some say he's isolated.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.